If you're in the market for investment-worthy bags, watches, and fine jewelry, Rebag is the answer. Rebag is a luxury resale marketplace where each piece is carefully vetted and verified by experts to ensure quality and authenticity. If you're in the market, use Rebag to buy and sell finds from the world's top brands, including Hermes, Chanel, and Cartier. Head to Rebag.com to get 10% off your first purchase with code REBAG10. Shop today at Rebag.com. That's REBAG.com and use promo code REBAG10 for 10% off your first purchase.
Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is Kansas State's Felix Enyedike Uzama, and you're listening to the Power Cat Podcast on the 24/7 Sports Podcast Network. Make sure you're subscribing to this show on your favorite podcast provider.
Welcome to another edition of the Power Cat Questions Podcast. Tim Fitzgerald, Zach Carlson, Cole Carmody, Ryan Gills-Gilbert, right here in the GPC studio in beautiful, gorgeous, lovely, tantalizing Manhattan, Kansas. It is Rivalry Week. That's hard to say, Zach. Rivalry Week.
Or robbery, according to Otter.
Rivalry. Kansas State plays Missouri on, I guess, Monday morning, according to my walk and talk.
According to the walk and talk.
Yeah, I said Monday morning.
Are they going to put coffee in the Gatorade coolers instead of water? Or
Man alive. 11 a.m. kick Monday morning. Saturday morning. What is up with my brain? Saturday morning at the Bell. Cats and Tigers renew a rivalry that has been quiet for 11 years. It gets started again. When these players were in grade school, they played last. That's how long ago it is, you fellow olds. It seems like yesterday. It wasn't. Man, I'm fired up for Saturday. First of all, I get to see some friends I haven't seen in a while because they're in a different conference. The SEC. Also today, I said they were in the Big Ten, not on the walk and talk, but apparently I've suffered a head injury and I didn't know it.
You misremembered the 2010 expansion rumors?
I misremembered everything today. Chris Climate was really good at his press conference. He didn't say much.
We didn't get a situation today.
I know. See, guys, I think he's listening because he's now being very careful not to give me any photo fodder for my weekly smartass tweets.
Those are great, by the way.
Today's was really good, and someone actually thought you were serious.
They always do.
You need the disclaimer at the bottom.
I don't want to do the disclaimer. It's like takes the fun out of it. We really need someone to invent the sarcasm font. So that you see the font, you go, oh, it's sarcasm.
But it's not even sarcasm. It's just it's a joke.
Yeah.
It's not even sarcasm.
Yeah, he's been real careful, and he's now not saying situation. He might do it situationally heading forward. But anyhow, it was a very tame press conference. Am I wrong in that, or was that they all said, well, we don't really think this is a rivalry because we're all so young.
Yeah.
But then they wouldn't say anything either. Like, they were all guarded.
The only one that said anything was Deuce, and he was talking about Felix and basically telling Felix's story, which that was about the only juicy thing we got.
Well, we're going to do your questions from Wabash Station. That's what we do every week. And we're sponsored by the Fridge Wholesale Liquor. Make sure you stop into the Fridge. You can get there before kickoff. I think they can open at 9. I think that's when they can open. So, I mean, if you want the first booze off the booze tree, I mean, you get there at 9. It's freshly picked booze right there at the Fridge. The corner of this and that. It's College and West Loop, but I can't ever. Oh, my God.
Nope.
I did it wrong. Oh, my God.
It's not West
That's
Loop.
the worst one you've done.
Claflin and West Loop. I swear.
Westport.
Westport. Oh.
Claflin, Westport.
a man with more ego and dignity would just stop and start all over, but I'm rolling with this. This is what I've become today. I have no functioning brain cells. Anyhow, look it up on Google Maps. It's called The Fridge, and it's fantastic. Make sure you stop in every Saturday. So Zach picks the questions from Wabash Station, and today's theme is 160 posts or below. These are all fairly new people or people who don't often chime in on the website. So to encourage further participation, we have bellied up to the bar of the newbies and said, serve us some.
I want to be clear. They aren't necessarily new, but some of them may have signed up during the special, which ended last night, if you're listening Wednesday.
But thank you to everyone who did. We are one of the fastest growing sites on 24/7.
But also, I didn't do this specifically until I noticed that all of these good questions were coming from people who rarely ask questions or have not asked questions. So welcome to everybody who is on the podcast today. Get your post count up so the next time we do this, you're not included in this edition of a podcast.
Guys, I'm a little worried. We're in week 2 and my brain's already failing.
This is fall camp for you. The non-conference is fall camp. Once we get to conference season, it'll be like the normal season.
We got to add Fitz to the injury report.
A pulled brain. Here we go. Your questions from Wabash Station. I'm assuming Gills Gilbert has it. Ryan Gills Gilbert, will you talk now and ask us some very good questions?
So, Zach, do you want me to include all
No,
these?
you don't need to you don't need to say their post count. That was just for me to
Just
keep
for
track.
you. Okay.
Yes.
It's just Zach's world. We're living in it.
You're living in my world.
From Pelchek, which was more impressive on Saturday? K-State's.
Is that right?
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Pelchek. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. Which was more impressive on Saturday? K-State's rushing success or the defense getting shut out?
Shut up. I mean, K-State's going to run the ball on everyone. In fact, K-State was really pretty bland. Their running game. They had the opening run. They ran Deuce outside one time, and he went for a touchdown.
I think some of the numbers are biased towards these long runs. Yes, it was impressive, but if you look at the sheer number of yards that they got, came on a handful of plays.
I think the defense, not necessarily because it was a shutout, but because they played so many players and got the shutout. I mean, that's a good sign. It doesn't matter. Like, people say, you know what? A shutout is a shutout, and you have to respect that. But the fact that they did this with really their second and third teamers the whole entire second half, you go back and you watch that game, the linebackers, the safeties, the defensive line, by the beginning of the third quarter, they're pretty much out of the game. The number one unit, I don't know, Zach, Fitz, Ryan, I don't know if you agree with me, but like it was like they probably saw like 5 or 6 series together max. And then they were rotating in guys and trying to get them experience with some of the starting group. So, there was a lot of depth. I think there's more depth than maybe we thought, especially in the secondary. I was very impressed with those guys, and it's going to be a lot better test against Missouri, but very promising effort from the defense. And not to say that the rushing attack was bad or it wasn't good or anything. I just I think they got complacent on offense, and on defense, those guys came ready to play.
And there were opportunities in the second half when those non-starters were in the game that South Dakota had that they could have scored. And you can say as much as you want about South Dakota State squandering those opportunities, but they were in K-State's half of the field, and K-State was able to still defend very well.
Not to knock K-State's defense, but there were a few, like 4th and 1, where they just run it up the middle. It's like they didn't really try too hard. K-State's defense played well, but I think there should have been at least a touchdown allowed. But I still think they played better than the rushing game.
Yeah, I agree. I also want to go out on a limb here and say the rushing game was better than the passing game.
But it didn't have to be. That was the game plan.
I know. They were very careful with it. You could tell. And, Adrian was kind of rusty.
We'll go back and watch the game film, and you'll see Adrian Martinez instead of there was definitely plays where you would expect a quarterback to maybe try and get an extra 2 or 3 yards, and he just kind of went out of bounds, or instead of sliding, he casually made his way to the sideline so he didn't get hit. I think playing smarter in that situation is actually a good thing. Think about how many times last year Skylar Thompson, when they would be up 3 touchdowns in a game that was like this, would go dive for the first down, and all the fans get excited. It's like those hits add up, and so I think the offense was as vanilla as it could possibly be. And again, I kind of disagree with you a little bit there, Ryan. I think South Dakota was really trying to get into the end zone, especially at the end of the game. they felt like when K-State's backups were in, they were better than their backups, and that wasn't the case. And so you have to give credit where credit is due, in my opinion.
I agree. That's nice. That's very nice. You give everyone credit.
Thank you.
You're a really nice guy. What's your name again?
I forgot.
Okay.
From Infected Testicle.
Oh my gosh. Let's just be clear here. We thought the infection had cleared up, but he's back.
Talk about you, right?
I don't think it's about me. I never thought I'd say this in my life. I never really did. But boy, we missed you, Infected Testicle.
After watching the post-game walk and talk, I'm not worried about the passing game yet. I am curious, though, did Adrian Martinez hesitate on plays due to receivers not getting open, or did he just not see open players?
I think he saw some open players. He did check down before. I saw Malik break loose a couple times, and Adrian kind of saw him but didn't react to it and threw it underneath. I swear I think they were just being careful not to get greedy, throw it downfield. I don't think they wanted to put too much on film, and I also don't think – I think in the absolute worst case they wanted him to have a turnover. They wanted him to have a turnover-free game. But I got to say this, Cole. What was that? Was that you?
That was Cole.
Unfortunately, me this time.
Okay. I got to say this, Cole. I have never seen a starting quarterback that did not throw an interception have a quarterback rating of 17. I didn't know it was possible. I'm amazed.
I didn't see that.
How low it was. I've never seen he had no turnovers, and yet his QB rating was 17.
The only way to go is up.
Can you have a negative QBR?
Sure, you can.
You can?
I mean, if you can have no turnovers and complete 11 of 15 and have a 17, I would think so. My God.
The reality of the situation
You
is
can't even take his passing rating on a date.
any one of the quarterbacks on K-State roster wins that game 34-0 if they don't turn the ball over. You could have put Adrian Lauren, you could have put Jake Rubley, you could have put Will Howard in.
Yep.
You could have put Parker Cavanaugh in. That game was going to be 34-0 no matter what. Adrian Martinez did absolutely nothing, but on that same hand, I don't really think he needed to, and I don't think he wanted to. I got the sense from talking to him today, there was a lot more jitters and nerves than I think people would realize. I mean, he's coming into a situation, and I don't care what he says, I don't care what people around him say. When you leave a toxic environment and you get into an environment that's not toxic, it feels different. Like it just feels different. And so for him to come in, not turn the ball over, go through the game and say, okay, this is how this can be, right? That felt like, to me, watching him play, it felt like a trial run. Like he's out there saying, all right, let me just kind of get my feet wet. You know, to compare it to going to the pool, right? You put your feet in the water, and then once you start to feel comfortable, you start to slowly inch out more, and eventually you're swimming. I think he's going to be swimming next week.
Yeah, I feel like the no turnovers thing was the point of emphasis. I think they really wanted him to sit there, maybe take some sacks that he could have gotten out of, but just go through your progressions, make the smart decision. Sometimes it's better to fold than to try making something happen. And I think that, you know, as much as I would have loved to see him throw the ball downfield to Malik more, I think that was kind of the goal. Don't force stuff. Let's go through a game. Make sure you don't need to be perfect, but your decision making needs to be correct. You need to make the right decisions at the right times. Sometimes the sack, you know, taking a punt, you know, is the right option.
Yeah, it's okay to get sacked every once in a while, and it's going to be a learning curve going from Nebraska's offensive line, which was clearly not as good as this K-State's offensive line. You're going to have more time to throw, and that timer might go off in your head just a little bit sooner because naturally you're used to Nebraska's line. Now at K-State, he's got more time, and I'm sure the coaches did say, yeah, it's okay to take a sack. We'd rather have that and give yourself a 2nd and 15 than just force the ball and turn it over and give the ball right over to the defense.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know how you guys feel, but it didn't change my opinion of Adrian Martinez at all. Like that game, it didn't change my opinion at all.
Not enough information.
No.
Well, we'll just see how he plays this. This is a big game. He's got to play well against Missouri. I mean, the whole team does. I think Missouri, this is a big opportunity for Missouri. I mean, last thing they want to do is lose to their little peon little brother again. They've always had a condescending attitude about Kansas State football, let alone the fact that they're in the little old Big 12 now and they're mighty SEC. So this is a big test for K-State.
From CardioCat78, we saw Special Teams U with a scoop and score again on Saturday. Do we see the Cats leading the nation in special teams stats and scores this season?
Could.
They're off to a good start.
If that wasn't some kind of aberration, Seth Porter's going to block a lot of punts because he could have blocked 3. He could have blocked 3. He was back there, but he said he just put out an arm on 2 of them because he didn't want to get a roughing. He didn't want to do anything bad, but the one he did block, he said it was just so... He almost had to slow down. It was there so quickly.
It was so easy. I was down there filming it, right there, see it happen, and it was amazing how quick Seth Porter was able to get to the punter.
The highlight of the block punt, though, wasn't the blocked punt itself or the scoop and score. It was the punter going face first and bouncing his head off the turf. The poor guy did a face plant and his head just bounced off the turf. He was okay. It was okay, but...
And that's why Zach's on the field for us, getting those shots. I will say that shot of Deuce on his block on the first play of the game that you had was great.
I honestly don't even remember it. I don't remember my shot of... I don't remember looking at Deuce in that clip. I was just worried about Malik.
So when I broke down this play for Tale of the Tape, which ran on Tuesday morning, I actually didn't see the punter fall on his face, and then somebody pointed it out on the boards, and I went back and watched it, and I'm watching it. It's pretty funny.
It's really fun.
I mean, it looked like that poor kid had a taste of some Manhattan turf.
Yeah,
it was bad. I think the good part about all this, though, is that teams now know K-State can block a punt. So that makes your return game even better.
Oh, absolutely. It all goes hand in hand.
Because you have one of the best punt returners in all of the country back there in Phillip Brooks. Now you have a weapon like Seth Porter who is able to get in there and block punts. It just is going to make your return game that much better. So I don't know how many more punts they're going to block throughout the season, because just the threat of being able to do that makes your return game so much better. On top of that, we haven't even talked about Malik Knowles as a kick returner. He got a chance. He didn't even get a chance to return a kick last. He didn't even get a chance because they kicked off one time, and the next play he scored a touchdown. So,
what's interesting though is Porter mentioned this, that it's not just a cut and paste, drill when it comes to blocking those kicks. Every week it changes based off of what the other team brings you. So, just because K-State got something on film for other teams, their strategy's still going to change week by week.
Yeah, if I'm South Dakota, like a lot of teams, week 1 special teams did not fare well. Although K-State had its own issues with the kicking game, I think Chris Tennant will be okay, but we saw a lot of teams lose because special teams weren't ready.
LSU.
When will coaches freaking figure it out? If you suck in special teams, you're going to lose. You can prep all you want for offense and defense, but if you collapse in special teams, you're in big trouble. All over college football. Poor East Carolina. They had NC State on the ropes, and they missed field goals and extra points.
Same thing with LSU.
Yeah.
I don't care about LSU. I mean, they were playing their third stringers again, right? That's the excuse.
You're not worried about their family?
I think he was a horrible hire for LSU. I think it's going to be a disaster. Good luck. Have fun.
Desmond Purnell was almost our first touchdown scorer of the year. If we go back to our predictions, he was very close.
He was.
I don't know who picked Desmond Purnell, but I don't think it was any of us.
I did. Yeah, totally. I meant to, but I've got a history of misspeaking, so it's pretty clear I meant it. Yeah.
Still Malik Knowles, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Malik
Fitz
Knowles
is colluding with the players with his prop bets.
Podcast prop bets.
The last question of the first half is from CTK Stater. I thought that Jake Rubley showed some promise on Saturday. If Jake continues to improve, does this cause a logjam at QB in future seasons between Jake, Will Howard, and Avery Johnson?
It's going to be a competition. I mean, Adrian Lard, don't leave him out either. I mean, this kid can wing it.
He's a stud.
And plus he's wearing number 7, and that's like magic. I'll say this. I'm really happy for Jake Rubley because he was behind. He was so far behind. He lost his senior season, gets injured. His redshirt freshman year was hardly any progress at all. And people were clamoring for him to play, and they refused to believe that he wasn't ready. To see him go out and perform like that efficiently, that's good for his psyche. But let's not get ahead here. I mean, he is still a young quarterback who hasn't played much in the last few years. He's going to need some time. But, yeah, I'm telling you what, next year, this is going to be a battle. We're all thinking they're going to get the red shirt on Will Howard. He'll be ready to go. I mean, Will Howard has NFL measurements. The kid is now 6'5", like 225. It's unbelievable. He is big and strong, and yeah, but it's going to be a competition. So for all of you who are freaking out, we can't have Will Howard as a quarterback. He doesn't know anything. Well, there's other options. That was a good impression of people, by the way. There's other options on this team, and they're not just going to give it to someone. It is going to be a battle. But if I know Chris Kleiman, if he's got a little Bill Snyder in him, which I'm finding out he does based on how little they put on the field on Saturday, there will be nothing decided on the quarterback front next spring. It's going to go over the summer, right into fall camp, probably right up to start a class. So as soon as they step into the classroom, they've started that clock for the year. And then he'll decide who the starter is.
It'll be fascinating, and I'm with you. I thought Jake Rubley played really well. He did. He looked in command. To me, that was the biggest thing.
But
he
Rubley didn't do anything different than what Martinez did. Like you mentioned earlier, who was that, you or Zach? That doesn't matter who K-State had at quarterback. It's a 34-0 win, right? No matter what.
I get
Jake Rubley threw a nice pass to Will Swanson. It was a good pass. It was a good play. It wasn't spectacular. And it was one play in a game during garbage time. I think that, yes, Jake Rubley looked fine at quarterback in that fourth quarter. But being able to look at that fourth quarter where the offense scored 0 points and saying, I'm excited about that as the future, is a little premature.
You ready for this? If this was Jaron Lewis that made that pass, this wouldn't even be a question.
Yeah, true.
We wouldn't even be talking about this right now. And I understand that Jake Rubley is a 4-star recruit, and I get that. Maybe he has improved. He's obviously jumped Jaron Lewis. He's ahead of Adrian Lara. And honestly, maybe he is ahead of Will Howard.
We don't know.
Colin Klein said he was... I asked him, is he the number 3 quarterback? He never said Will Howard is the number 2 and Jake Rubley is number 3. He didn't say that. He just said that Jake Rubley has improved. And, I mean...
I still think it's situational, though. I think that...
What?
I'm sorry.
Situational.
I'm sorry.
Situational?
Huh? Situational.
Thank you. Good Lord.
Come on,
Can't
guys.
keep these guys.
You cannot convince me that if Jake Rubley plays against Tulane, which, if things go as planned, that probably should happen, that if he gets hurt, if Adrian Martinez somehow gets hurt against Oklahoma, that they're just going to throw in Will Howard after not having played?
I think if it's an injury to Adrian Martinez, I think that they absolutely will put Will Howard in.
If there's any jeopardy in the game being played, Howard's going in.
Right. That's a 2-part there. Is he hurt? Is the game in peril?
Yes.
And if the game's in peril, they'll put Will in at this point.
But are you guys with me that Jake Rubley and Will Howard, in my honest opinion, both those guys will not be on the roster next year. I think one of them will transfer. With how many transfers?
I thought the way you said both made it sound like both of them will be gone.
No.
One of them.
Only
well,
one of them will
I don't think there's any doubt that players will transfer. I mean, that's just the world in which we live now. But
Rubley has a tangible chance to be the starter next season. If not, he would have been gone by now.
No, I think it's going to be...
I just think the white elephant of Avery Johnson coming in throws a whole nother wrench into this. Because if you're Jake Rubley, you have to look at playing time, right? I mean, at the very best, let's say Will Howard wins the job. Will Howard can potentially be the starting quarterback for 2 years. That leaves you 1 year to be the starting quarterback. On top of that, you got a guy in Avery Johnson who's going to be right there continuously battling with you to be the number 2. So I don't know if that's something you want to hang around for. On the flip side, if you're Will Howard, do you even mess around with that? Because... at what point do you say, if I lose my job, I got 2 more guys that behind me that we think are going to be players? So, there's a lot that goes into this. And, I do not envy Colin Klein in this situation because there's going to be some hard decisions that are going to have to be made.
Oh, I'm fine with envying Colin Klein. He's got like 4 quarterbacks from which to pick.
True.
He's going to be okay. That's it for the first half of the Power Cat podcast. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we've been doing a sale, and it has ended now. Unfortunately, you missed the 75% off. But I'd like to thank everyone who did sign up. I mean, when you see the top list of subscriptions sold with this sale across the network, to see Go Power Cat up there in the top 5 with some really big sites is humbling. It's flattering, and we appreciate it as we continue to grow quickly. And we hope more of you will consider coming over. Now, the good news is you still get a hell of a deal if you want to sign up at full price. I don't know what the network's offering.
30% off is the regular offer on a VIP annual subscription, or you can get your first month for $1.
or you can email 247 Sports support at 247 Sports and say, I want to pay full price. And here's why. I'm not trying to get more money out of you. When you pay full price on an annual subscription, you get a free Paramount Plus subscription. That's a $100 value in itself. So it kind of pays for itself. If you're interested in that streaming platform and K-State, just do that. Just email and say, hey, I want to pay the price because I want Paramount Plus right now, and they'll get you hooked up. Lots of great deals always coming at 247 Sports. Our team in Nashville does an incredible job of making you making values available to you throughout the year. But boy, that 75% off was a great deal, and I'm so glad that we continue to grow. We're sponsored by the Fridge Wholesale Liquor, and we will be right back.
This is Kansas State's Cooper Beebe. The leaders in K-State sports coverage will be right back with more of the Power Cat podcast.
Picture this nightmare scenario. You're hosting friends for the big game. It's neck and neck in the fourth quarter, and suddenly you realize you're out of drinks. You start to sweat. Your friends start to turn on you. You're forced to go on a last-second drink run and end up missing the game-winning touchdown while in line. Terrifying, isn't it? Luckily, you can avoid the drama with Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. With Drizzly, you can shop a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits, then get them delivered right to your watch party. Compare prices across multiple stores in your area, find the best deals on game day drinks, and get back to armchair quarterbacking from, you guessed it, your armchair. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations.
JamesAllen.com is the online destination to easily design a customized engagement ring and save up to 50% compared to traditional stores. You pick a diamond, whether it's lab-created or earth-created, James Allen has over 200,000 conflict-free stones. Then you pick your ring setting and metal. And if you need some help, they have real-time diamond consultations available, where an expert can walk you through it all. Get 25% off your order at JamesAllen.com, code podcast. That's JamesAllen.com, code podcast.
This is Kansas State's Daniel Green, and welcome back to the Power Cat podcast on the 247 Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Power Cat Questions Podcast, our weekly endeavor into anything you want to ask us about. And this week, we're letting some of the less frequent posters at GoPowerCat.com get their crack at asking the questions from Wabash Station. I think the max was 160. The largest poster was 160 posts. Some of you have that in a day, roughly.
This is true.
Ish. We're sponsored by The Fridge, which is not an ish. It is the best liquor store I've come across in the state of Kansas. When you come to Manhattan, make sure you stop into The Fridge. If you have any product questions, they have a very knowledgeable staff. All kinds of new products coming into The Fridge all the time. Go check it out. And again, we appreciate their ongoing support of the Power Cat podcast as they have signed up for another year. And we also appreciate the fellas, the players, for our NIL reads that they have given us. It's kind of a cool little thing. Kind of cool. I like it. Here we go. Your questions at Wabash Station. Gills, you still got it? Wow.
Yes.
You're like in control here. Man, you're just like,
I've got this.
I want this.
I'm taking charge.
Okay.
From Pelster, to start off the second half, what type of numbers does 9 a.m. need to put up this week in order to silence the Nebraska quote-unquote fans that seem to be rooting for his demise?
I don't think it matters this week. I think it's the Oklahoma game. You have direct opponent back-to-back.
It's just win. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. Yeah, if you keep winning, but I think where it really comes down to, and you can probably throw in Scott Frost into this conversation as well, how does Nebraska play against Oklahoma? Does Oklahoma absolutely kick Nebraska's teeth in? Or, is it a close game like last year? And then the next week, K-State goes down to Oklahoma. Does K-State win? Do they beat Oklahoma badly? I think that's the true comparison that Nebraska fans are going to be interested in.
Fitz, are you ready to bleep this out?
Yeah.
I don't give a what Nebraska fans think.
Beep. I might have been late.
I don't care. Like, who cares? Like, why is this even a conversation? Like, if
why are they still obsessed?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I responded to a guy that I think it was a podcast or something. They had almost 10,000 followers. ripping on Adrian's quarterback rating, which is kind of funny, I gotta admit. But don't you have your own concerns? You were tied with North Dakota at halftime. Not North Dakota State. North Dakota.
They might lose this weekend. They play Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern put up 59 points last week. Now, granted, it's against an FCS team, but still, it's not exactly a game they'll win.
Did you say an SES team?
An FCS.
SEC. Pretty
FCS. They played Morgan State.
Oh.
But Georgia Southern.
Here's an interesting piece of information. Morgan is not a state. I don't know how they...
worry about your own team. That's the bottom line.
I think Adrian's going to be good. The only thing that will make Nebraska fans happy at this point is if his turnovers cause defeat for K-State. If that's not the case, then K-State made the right choice in making him quarterback, period. So, yeah, that's the thing. Nebraska fans don't seem to grasp this. Your quarterback doesn't need to win every game for you. They can put up a quarterback rating of 17 with a final score 34-0 against a team that's pretty decent for the level of play at which they compete. I'll take it. 34-0. Nothing to complain about overall.
It's funny just because Martinez left Nebraska with class. He took the high road. He always said the right things when talking, to the media and all this type of stuff. Imagine if Skylar Thompson went and transferred away to, Colorado or some local school. Well, I can't imagine rooting against him.
No.
Fan, media member, whatever it is. I can't imagine that.
Nobody rooted against Alex Delton when he transferred to TCU.
No, they rooted for him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
I think fans might have had a reason or two to root against him, but they didn't.
I guess if to answer Pelster's question, does Adrian Martinez have to throw for 200 yards and throw for 3 touchdowns, have an amazing game, and K-State beats Missouri by 2 touchdowns? Will they shut up after that? I don't know. I don't think they'll ever shut up. It doesn't matter what K-State does.
I think it'd be great.
They have to have him be bad to affirm their worth in the world, and that is so pathetic.
It would piss them off the most if Martinez throws for 3 or 4 interceptions and has a fumble, and K-State just consistently wins by 2 points, and they get all these one-score games.
Same Adrian, better team.
Yeah.
From SFCGVR.
With the eye doctor's skills?
We are. Where's the red barn at? 6 well-deserving former players were placed in the Ring of Honor this past weekend. Who is not up on the ring that should be?
There's only one player that comes to mind right now, and he's not eligible.
Who?
Deuce Vaughn.
I'm going to go with Kevin Lockett. I wish they'd put him in with his son. But maybe they want to do it separately.
I almost asked Deuce about that.
There's some old guys that need to be up there. There's some guys that are no longer with us. Elmer Hackney and, some All-American type guys.
Do you think it's the time has passed for them to be on there at all?
No, I just think they're going to make sure they have one, what's the word I'm looking for? What do they call it? Legacy player that goes up.
Larry Brown.
Yeah, they're going to make sure they include one. And we all recognize that for the most part it's going to be Snyder era forward players because that's where most talent. But there were some great players back in the day, and we'll see who goes up. But I think Kevin Lockett absolutely belongs up there. I don't care if he was third team All-American or anything else. He was the leading receiver in K-State football history until his son came along. He was so good, guys. I can't even express how good of a receiver he was at the college level. Just amazing.
I was going to say Ty Zimmerman.
Nah.
He's pretty good, but not that great.
Hall of good.
Not even Hall of great.
Ty Zimmerman's in the Hall of good.
He'd be the only one that I can remember.
Jeff Kelly is the only. I looked up the consensus All-American list. Jeff Kelly is the only one that's currently not a current player that is on that list that is not in the ring.
I would agree with that.
So Jeff Kelly
probably needs to go up.
Is probably in, and Deuce Vaughn at this point is absolutely in. Right. He's a consensus All-American, and he fits all of the criteria other than being out of school for 5 years.
What about Felix? Do you think he can get up there one day?
He could.
He's not going to stay around Manhattan long enough.
That's the problem is even if he has a good season this year, he's not going to be able to match Darren Howard's career totals because he'll be gone.
If he stays for 2 years?
Yeah, he could. If that's important to him. And honestly, he may not have the size yet to be a high pick in the NFL draft at a rush end.
If he's a consensus All-American, I mean, that is the critical criteria. And it's not necessarily mandatory. You have to be program transformational as a player, which is Kevin Lockett. There.
Right. And that's something that Bill Snyder added, because originally the criteria was an All-American. And I had a problem with it from the start. As I said, you're letting outside forces select who's your great players. So I'm so happy that Coach Snyder added the transformational quotation there, because there's a lot of guys that might get in on that.
If you truly want to cement yourself in the conversation, becoming that consensus All-American like Deuce Vaughn did last season is certainly enough. As long as you're a good person that represents K-State the right way, I think that is the door to get in if you want to get into the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, agreed.
From Poon Saloon.
Is that why you were giggling?
That's why I giggled.
Well, you know what? Just on that note, a veteran reporter today asked Eli Huggins, describe your sack. So anyhow.
And he left.
I had to turn around and leave at that point because I was giggling like a small.
Eli chuckled.
He did chuckle?
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
this is actually, I got to answer this. Straight FaceTime.
Yeah. Okay. Poon Saloon.
Anywho, which is a lot better than So Long Saloon. You better believe it.
Got to go to the Poon Saloon.
What's the key matchup in the Missouri game? Their D-line versus K-State's O-line?
Well, that can always be it, but I would just say their defensive front against the rushing game of K-State. Going both ways. I think you need to take away that run game on either way.
Their offensive line is not physical. K-State should have a field day on the defensive side of the defensive line in the front seven. K-State should have a field day. They should do pretty much whatever they want on the defensive line with how talented this group is, with Felix, with Eli Huggins, with Nate Matlack. Throw Brendan Mott into that conversation. He's a guy we haven't talked about yet, but I was very impressed by him. K-State's defensive line is heads and shoulders above this Missouri Tigers offensive line. So, I mean, that should help K-State in that front. But I think the matchup that I'm looking at, quite honestly, is the receivers versus the secondary, specifically the cornerbacks, because Missouri has some dudes. Their receiving core is pretty good. You look at a true freshman in Luther Burden, who was the number one player in the country, along with Travis Hunter, who went to Jackson State as Luther Burden. And then they got another guy, Dominic Lovett, who led the team in receiving yards against Louisiana Tech. Those are two guys that I look at as guys that could be problems for K-State. But if Julius Brents and Echo Boydo come to play, then I think K-State is going to be fine on the defensive side of the ball. And to me, that is the biggest matchup, is K-State's defense versus Missouri's offense, because, I mean, that is what Missouri's known for, is their offense.
I agree with Poon Saloon. It's K-State's offensive line and Missouri's defensive line. So great question, Poon Saloon.
Do you want to get that in one more time?
Maybe later.
Okay. I agree.
You agree as well?
Yeah. Go ahead. Let's move on.
Last question from Kat in Colo.
Wow.
Usually...
Do you think he's in Colorado, or just like he's got 1 foot in Colorado?
He's colorblind. He only sees one color.
He's in Colombia.
Oh,
Oh boy, behind enemy lines. Usually after week 1, fan base optimism takes a hit when teams disappoint. In the Big 12, only West Virginia lost to a relatively good team in a heated rivalry contest. But everyone else won pretty easily. What did we learn from week 1 about the rest of the conference? Who looked better than expected, and who displayed some weaknesses that were perhaps unexpected?
Well, KU has definitely improved. They played a trash FCS team, but as someone who covered Bill Snyder, that's who they should have been playing. All these years that they've gone up against like South Dakota last year and struggled, and other teams they've lost to, this is who they should have been playing. Go find the bottom of that division and play them and get better, feel confident. But in watching the part of the game that I could stomach to watch, because, God, Tennessee Tech's bad. They have better-looking athletes. They've got better-looking players. They've got a great running back room. So, and I'm a Jalen Daniels fan. I love his game. I mean, he would have fit into a Bill Snyder system really well. I think they're better. How much better, I don't know. And maybe we'll find out this weekend against a West Virginia team that I think is pretty good. I mean, think about it. They took one of the best teams from the ACC, the defending champions, had them beat and blew it, which is what bad programs do. But that's the only loss for the conference. I'll take it. Oklahoma State's defense, you got to be worried. He just gave up so many points to Central
A
Michigan.
lot of that was late garbage time, though.
44 points.
But I don't think it was
unacceptable.
From what I'm told, they did not clear the benches. They did not. They played mostly their starters. At least that's what I was told. I have not gone back and watched that. What were we doing? Were we doing the walkthrough?
Recording, yeah.
So I didn't see the second half. We were just kind of laughing.
The point is, I mean, come on, like 44 points, even with your backups, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Your backup should be better than Central Michigan, at least better than 44 points, right? So to me, that's the biggest question mark of the whole entire conference right now. Oklahoma State, predicted to be your number 2 team in the conference, gives up 44 points. That is kind of
half of them were in the fourth
They've
quarter,
lost
though.
to Central Michigan recently, though, too.
And I
this
get,
is a step forward.
I get that. But they lost so many pieces. They lost so many pieces on the defensive side. Like, that's a team to keep an eye on. The other team I look at is Oklahoma. I get that they're playing UTEP, and UTEP is not very good. But, I mean, 45-13. Again, it's kind of one of those things.
Yeah, we're saying the same stuff about K-State, though.
Yeah, but you know how we all know how Oklahoma is. Oklahoma comes out and they dominate people on purpose. They run the score up. They don't care. That's how they've always been. That's how they will always be. So I think there's some kinks in the armor for OU. I don't think they're that good in general.
Can you get kinks in armor?
Wow. No. I like that.
What did I say? Kinks in the armor? I believe. What is it supposed to say?
Chinks.
Chinks.
Yeah.
No, that's. I don't know where my mind's headed.
Yeah,
I thought there was kinks in the armor.
No, yeah, it's chinks. It's like a scratch.
It's not a hose, Cole.
Yeah, I don't know.
Texas Tech destroying Murray State. Does that put anything?
No.
Does that strike
We haven't
any fear?
mentioned TCU. I know Colorado's not good, per se, but that's still a Power 5 win. By
Yeah,
what,
I mean,
15, 20 points?
And keep in mind, it was like, 7-6 at halftime or something, and they just absolutely took them to the woodshed in the second half. But in the defense of the fans and the team, I mean, those pregame edibles kicked in around halftime, and that really sets you back.
Or they wore off.
Oh, that could be too. It could be too.
So
It's a high.
I'm going to look at week 2 here, and I'm just going to read these matchups off.
Oh, I
since
was
this
about
is
to
very
do
end.
that.
Oh, okay. Alabama and Texas. That'll be a really good game.
At 11 a.m. on Fox. I'm going to go with Alabama.
Are we picking these games?
No, but Alabama is a 20-point favorite as I'm looking at this line that's on ESPN. I don't know what line it is, but I will take Alabama.
And then Houston and Texas Tech obviously will be a good game. Iowa State, KU, West Virginia, like Brady mentioned, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, BYU, Baylor, and of course K-State, Missouri. Those are the highlights. So we're going to find out a lot about this.
That is
conference.
a great Saturday of Big 12 football.
The only teams that aren't playing anybody is Oklahoma's playing Kent State and TCU's playing Tarleton State.
West Virginia's playing KU.
Right.
Oh, ouch. I mean, so look at this, folks. You can wake up and have your choice. I know what you're going to watch. You're going to watch Missouri, Kansas State, but Alabama, Texas is over there on Fox if you want to flip over. K-State game's on ESPN2, so no more streaming this week. And then come along 3 p.m., you can watch Houston at Tech, which is a future Big 12 game on FS1. Or if you have the Big 10 network, you can watch Iowa State and Iowa. Then
It's going to be a disgusting game.
Yeah, why?
7-3, Iowa beat South Dakota State.
Yeah, I watched that game. It wasn't that exciting.
It's going to be just like that.
Folks, let's be clear. They won 7-3, but that was a field goal and 2 safeties. That was not a touchdown. Oh my gosh, the poor children in that hospital who had to watch that game. Kansas and West Virginia. Wait, Mommy, Daddy, I want to go home. Kansas and West Virginia kick at 5. Come on, ESPN. This is the debut, the first game of the Big 12 schedule, and you put it on Plus.
I'm okay with it being on Plus. This is the worst, one of the worst games of the season.
Bull crap.
In the conference.
Kent State and Oklahoma is also on Plus, which I find interesting because did they give up the Sooner Network?
No, they switched. Sooners switched to ESPN Plus this year.
Okay, good for them. That helps out. That means they can get screwed over too. Arizona State and Oklahoma State, another future Big 12 game. I'm going out on a limb.
The Fightin' Herms.
I don't think that's their nickname.
Okay.
Oh.
You guys are probably
How is he
gonna
not
make fun
fired
of me.
yet? He's got to be
What's the difference
close.
between Big 12 now on ESPN Plus and just ESPN Plus?
Big 12 now
You see the
is
schedule has it on there?
The Big 12 now is the
branding.
brand. The branding. It's ESPN Plus.
It's always any Big 12 game on ESPN Plus is Big 12 now.
Not the OU game.
It'll be Big 12 now.
Do you not see that on there?
I'm
Cole?
willing.
Back
I'm
me up.
willing to promise that
You
they'll
wanna know
play
why?
the theme song in all of the intros and outros.
This is a Big 12 game, Kansas versus West Virginia.
TCU Tarleton's not, but it's on ESPN.
Oh, yeah.
Big 12 now on
I don't know.
ESPN Plus.
Maybe the only thing I could think of is OU is using their own production. for
Could
that.
be.
Maybe.
Maybe. Can I continue now?
Yes, you can.
Sorry.
Tarleton, by the way, is a purple school, so that's very confusing.
Former Division II, by the way. Did you know that?
I know. Jonathan Beasley's on the staff there, but not coaching anymore, which that's a whole other story. And then you wind it up with what will be Big 12 After Dark, Baylor and BYU at 9:15 on ESPN. I love it.
Who's winning that game? I know we're not picking, but who's winning that game?
Baylor. I think Baylor's really good.
Yeah.
BYU is the favorite.
Crazy.
Look, normally I think they put lines out there to get you to bet, and get you to put but are the BYU fans involved in that? I don't think so.
The Sharps know something. Something's up.
Well, based on my performance today, I am not among the Sharps. Is that it? Are we done?
Pretty dull in the drawer there, Fitz.
Ryan Gilbert, you got anything else to say?
I would say that I agree.
That's good.
Everything that's been said.
That's great. That was good. Zach, you good?
We're good.
You look good in that two-tone purple.
I wish that yours fit.
It fits fine. I could wear it out in public.
Hey, I'm surprised we didn't have any Wabash Cannonball questions.
Well, I don't like the chant at all. I want it to stop. It needs to stop. I all of a sudden became Christopher Walken. I think we can all agree that even in Mizzou week, the sentiment is true.
Thank you for listening to the PowerCat Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. PowerCat Podcast. All rights reserved. GoPowerCat.com.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.